at least a couple of pieces by our next speaker. She is brilliant, and let's see. I was talking to her recently. One of the things she told me is that she lives in New York, so she can have some objectivity over what's happening in San Francisco. She's objective, over the bubble. So that was pretty insightful, actually. So please welcome Caroline McCarthy.
So I'm Caroline. I'm going to talk about living nowhere, which is something that I decided to do after coming to the conclusion that I had this totally narcissistic, obnoxious, whiny quarter-life crisis. I've been living in New York for 3 years, working as a journalist, and I had a total case of Groundhog Day. And so, I was going to the same bars, I was hanging out with the same people, I was ordering the same beers, Hogarth and Tom & Jerry's, by the way, and I was making the same mistakes. I was hurting myself and my friends in the same ways. So I decided I needed to get out of New York and travel a little bit. I know what you're thinking. I've read this book. I didn't really have a deep spiritual impulse behind why I wanted to leave. I also didn't have a book advance to pay for my trip around the world. Oops. But what I've been thinking more along the lines of was the 4-hour work week, which of course is full of all of its total hyperactive marketing banter. But it really has a lot to say about doing business in a mobile world. However, Tim Ferriss's initial premise is that you hate your job. I loved my job. My job was a rock when everything else in my life was going wrong. What was trapping me was geography. I cover digital media. I'm a journalist. There is so much that is changing about the world that makes it possible for us to live anywhere. And so, major props to my boss for letting me pull this off and believing in me. I decided I was going to put my stuff in storage, I was going to give up my lease, and I was going to go from sublet to sublet, coast to coast, going where I wanted to, or where I needed to go, when it was possible. And I learned some pretty exciting stuff along the way. So what makes all this possible? First of all, our lives are getting so portable. I mean, think about the iPhone 4 announcement just earlier this week. You've gotten an entire video camera consolidated on one device. People have their entire book libraries on iPads now. It's really exciting. Additionally, there's the travel industry. Virgin America, their planes have power outlets and Wi-Fi. It means that a travel day can be a work day even if you're going cross country. And mobility has been amazing for my job. I've been able to get FaceTime with people across the country when I normally would not have been able to. It's been fantastic. Then there's the negative side, home ownership. All the headlines from people who would normally be thinking about buying their first house are really, really crappy right now. The Indianapolis Business Journal said last year that there was an 8% drop in home ownership for people under the age of 35. But there's a positive side to this too. There are so many exciting things happening in housing. I have in the past year found housing on Craigslist, through friends' private exchanges, through last-minute hotel booking sites where I slept in this bed once when I really needed somewhere to crash for the night and had no friends with empty couches. Then there's Airbnb. This is my favorite. It's designed as a hotel alternative, but it's worked itself into this kind of sublet market where people have even banded together in groups where they can create these private exchanges for where they can stay, who they trust, who they can stay with. It's got a really cool community and it's growing. I love the movie Up in the Air, but it's a little bit harsh. It takes physical and emotional baggage in this theme of carrying a backpack. How much weight do you want in it, and it ultimately is pretty isolating. I think in real life it's liberating. I got concerned about my personal relationships and whether they would get superficial as I traveled. It's not true. I began to realize that FaceTime was so much more valuable than I thought it was. I realized who meant a lot to me and who considered me to be a close friend as well. It was very eye-opening. The mobile workplace is a big topic these days. The guys from the Summit series, those total bros who go and put young entrepreneurship conferences on around the world, they've got this really kooky setup where they change their office space into a different, exotic location every few months and using it as a live-work space. Sam Leston, the founder of Dropio, did a similar experiment to mine where, he works for a company that does a lot of cloud computing data storage. He tried to apply that to his physical living space by doing what he calls variable cost living. However, at the end of his blog post about it, he failed. And I failed too. I came back to New York last month and I'm here to stay, at least for the time being. I realized my industry is still here. And additionally, traveling frequently, you are going to be paying more for the month for housing than you would be if you were living in the same place. And you know what, maybe I deserve to fail. Maybe I'm operating on this principle of world-changing, super enthusiastic, privileged, oh my God, I'm a disruptor, that kind of thing. But I still learned so much about minimalism, about ownership. A lot of the stuff I put in storage, I am not taking back. I'm going to donate it. Additionally, I currently live in a sublet that is furnished like a jail cell, and I don't care. I don't care about that new pair of shoes everybody wants, and it's kind of awesome. And so the for everyone is, first of all, that I really think there are legitimate changes going on when it comes to our concepts of housing, of ownership, of material possession. And it's really cool how these things are changing, even if they're not quite ready to change yet. The jury duty people from New York County hate me. And what I learned personally is that I was going to stop complaining, and I was going to try to take what I saw as my issues and do something about it. And I did, and along the way I took this picture of a moose. And so I put it in here on my last slide because the moose is not a groundhog. Thank you.